obstacles in their path. And once these characters encounter those obstacles, they can show their character more. They can reveal their cleverness or their intelligence or their strength or their wisdom to resolve those obstacles. So when you are thinking about your obstacles and resolutions that you're going to put on the worksheet,
imagine working
think about
7
what
days a week
is at stake. What is at risk?
Sleeping in your car,
kind of challenges
trying to be a husband to
can
your
stop
wife,
the character on the way to
dealing with
achieving
coworkers
their story
that want you to come to work
now,
because they
this
don't
is
have
something
to
to think
care
about
about the quality
as we
of your
move
life.
into character development.
Waking
now,
up
how
at
do we develop character?
3 o'clock in the morning. It's freezing cold outside. You have to run your generator. To power your 300-watt heater while you're sitting in your car, homeless, working on assignments, having to watch all of these videos.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
An hour and a half. Listen to what she's talking about.
Situation that changes the character perspective, motivation. Honestly, you're all right.
What does this have to do with me doing my assignment? Nothing. But I have to sit through all of this to get to the information I need to do this.
I had a friend who
and I'm not allowed to work on the story that I was just working on. I have to work on something new. And the reason why I'm recording this video is because
yeah, personality.
with all of this that I'm doing,
mirror universe of yourself. Yeah, totally. It's like the
this is what I receive.
That like are flaws or
-5 points for professionalism because my assignments aren't done. But when I was literally sleeping at the school on campus, asking them to leave me the fuck alone so I could do my homework, I was the problem. I was the aggressor. I was the one that was creating unnecessary conflict. And this is the result of them not leaving me alone. Now I have to sleep in my car. It's freezing cold outside. I have to work 2 jobs 7 days a week. And I have to watch all of your lectures because I'm not sitting in your classroom. And I'm trying to redo an assignment that I was already doing because I'm not allowed to, what does it say? You're not allowed to use old work. The class work has to be original work. It's not my fault that the assignment that I started last month had to stop because you didn't want to empathize with the fact that I was being treated like shit by security, sleeping outside in the parking lot, doing my fucking homework. It's not my fault that the basic reality of the world that I live in isn't functioning properly. It's irritating is what it is. It's super frustrating. Right now I'm trying to do my homework, but I just got negative points on my grade because everything is behind schedule because I work 7 days a week. Like, how do you expect me to function if I can't function? You're giving me, and I've repeatedly explained to them my situation. You know what? They don't care. They don't have to care. She doesn't care. Imagine being told, imagine losing. I want you to understand that I'm doing my homework, trying to get caught up. Imagine losing professional points. Imagine losing points for professionalism because you're doing your homework. Because you're doing your homework. Like, how? Why? How do you lose points for professionalism when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning at the age of 42 to do your homework and you have to be at work at 8 o'clock and you have to start your car and drive to Planet Fitness so that you can shower? This is what it means to actually be black. This is what it actually means. When people sit up there talking all that shit about, oh, you gotta be black. Being black is swag. Being black, no. It's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. It's anytime you find yourself in life having to work unnecessarily hard to achieve the same thing as somebody else and being told that you're not good at what you've actually done. Constantly being told subjectively that what you are doing objectively isn't good enough is the foundational definition of blackness. And it's built on the idea that there's not enough resources in the world for everyone. There is absolutely no reason why I should have to function the way that I'm functioning. Zero fucking reason. There's too many empty houses in the world for there to be homeless people. There's not a shortage of places for people to live. There are more places for us to live than there are people that need a place to live. Make homelessness make sense to me. Make it make sense. I'm not saying that I shouldn't be homeless. I'm not saying that if you don't be a responsible adult and do the things you're supposed to do, that the consequences of your actions shouldn't exist. I'm simply stating the fact that since we designed every fucking thing, we should have made it impossible for you as an individual to exist in a state of homelessness. It should be like, why are you sleeping in your car? You don't have to do that. There are resources that make it impossible for you to have to sleep in your car. Like, it should be a active, unnecessary choice for you to do what I'm doing. Not, I spend more than 50% of my income eating food every day and not being able to save to get out of this situation. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. And when you sit back and you wonder why things are as difficult as they are for everyone, this is the reason why. I'm irritated by the fact that I'm losing professionalism points when I am a fucking professional. Who else is gonna do homework in their goddamn car at 3 o'clock in the morning, buy a generator, buy a heater to be able to actually achieve these objectives and these goals? And if I explain any of this stuff to her, she's not gonna care. Not gonna care. That is the epitome of being white. She doesn't have to fucking care. She doesn't have to care because she's never had to be in a situation to have to deal with these types of adversities in her world. And she never will have to. And the vast majority of Caucasians, no matter how fucked up they are, live in a reality where they don't have to worry about shit like this because there are resources for them. It's called networking. It's called friends. It's called family. You know why the average African American winds up in my situation? Because there's not enough equity in our households for us to be able to take care of each other. My mother has 2 fucking 3-bedroom houses. 3-bedroom houses. 2 of them. When I was living with her, I was in her basement and she has a fucking room that's just a closet. Just a closet. It makes sense until you think about the fact that she has 2 fucking houses. Why can't you move all the shit in the room that's a closet in the other fucking house? Why can't you move all the shit in that closet in the basement? And the answer is simple. Because she has an extra room, then she as a fucking Christian has an obligation to help those that are in need. That's the problem. It's fucking designed. You go on Facebook, you talk about how much you love your fucking son. And I'm not talking about just my mother. I'm talking about Christians in fucking general. And you have the resources that you hoard for your fucking self. And you act like the problems that everybody else have are their own divine problems. That is a weakness and a failing of their desire to love fucking Jesus. I'm not worshiping a white fucking man. Why? Why should I? This whole fucking system was designed by white people. So why would I worship them when this is the creation that they've given us? This is what they gave us. Egypt stood for 4,000 years because it wasn't this bullshit. It wasn't unnecessary strife. It wasn't unnecessary chaos. It wasn't unnecessary conditions to feel superior over everybody else. If you walked around with an ego, that was on you. But the legislation didn't do that shit. That's why the government's ran for so long. And the first thing you're going to do is like, well, you wasn't there. You don't know. The fall of Egypt It's synonymous with the Roman Empire. Rome was in Egypt when Egyptians fell. Think about that shit. This place stood for 4,000 fucking years when it was just ran by Africans. And then as soon as Europeans started showing up and English was introduced, that was the end of the fucking civilization. Think about it. And now we live in this bullshit. Now we live in this bullshit. And I have to do the homework so that I can get the $700 fucking dollars so that I can have the money I need to be able to afford the 50% income that I spend on food every day. I spend on average $25 to $40 a day on food because I can't make my own meals. I have to eat out. And the first thing people say is, well, there are no fucking options when you live in your car. And this is a step up from when I was just living on the fucking street. So it's like I've done this before. I know how this works. And it's sad that the desire for me to want to be a husband and a father has resulted in this fucking bullshit. That's the sad part. And to be told, oh, you're going to lose points because you're losing professionals the points because you haven't turned in your assignments yet. I have to watch your dumbass videos so that I can understand what it is you expect of me so that I can do the fucking work, because you can't just tell me what you want me to do. You have to prove that I'm fucking stupid, which is the exact opposite of education. You shouldn't be proving that I'm dumb. You should be teaching me the things that I don't have information about so that I can be smart, not the latter. It shouldn't be, how can I prove that you are not smart enough to give you a bad grade? And it should be, I understand that you're not smart enough. That's why you're in school in this academic setting, seeking knowledge and information. Let me give you those resources so that you can be the better version of yourself that you want to be. No, because we live in a world where there's finite resources and not everybody can make it. So I have to figure out who I'm going to fail. So the people that aren't good enough are going to fucking fail. And all of the Caucasians are good enough right off the bat. I'm going to make sure that I invest extra energy into make sure they're successful. And all of the non-whites are the ones that I'm going to start making sure that I start eliminating. That's the reality of the world that we live in. That's how this shit works. And it's frustrating as hell. Like, it's so fucking frustrating. Wake up at 3 o'clock in the goddamn morning. I have to be at work from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. No one fucking cares. Like, nobody literally fucking cares. And if you're 18 to 25 and you're constantly running around trying to do things for other people and sacrifice who you are and make an effort to try to appease the people around you, and they don't care about you, you're going to wind up in the same position that I'm in, blaming yourself, thinking you're not good enough, failing to achieve objectives because the people around you are manipulating you and taking advantage of your ignorance. And then guess what? You're going to repeat the fucking cycle, because once you're 25 or 30, you're just going to do the same thing to the next generation that was done to you. And it gets us no fucking where. It gets us no fucking where. Nowhere. Like, none of this is what I want to fucking do. I don't want to do any of this shit. You know what I want to do? I want to go somewhere, spend 8 hours. Look, you know what? I can show you what I want to do. I don't even have to explain that shit. This is what I want to fucking do. Now, mind you, I'm losing professional points in school so that I can learn how to write. They're supposed to be teaching me how to write. I haven't learned how to write yet because, as you can see, I'm getting horrible grades for being unprofessional because of the adversities that I have to deal with as an American citizen. This is what I want to fucking do.
There are three sides to every story: the narrators, his critics, and the truth. In the beginning is how the mythos always starts. Homo sapien is the narrator of his story, but history is not exclusively his. As I do not speak favorably of man, I stand as an adversary, one of many critics claiming to bring you the truth of humanity's legacy. The truth is found in questions, so I will question the origin story of Homo sapiens and expose their mythos, for it is within the questions that the truth can take the lead role from humanity as the narrator of their legacy. Homo sapiens' legacy most often starts with "in the beginning." That's how the mythos starts. How is it that such validity can be claimed by an incarnate mortal entity? Of course, I'm speaking of Homo sapiens. The ego of sapiens leads them to believe that some knowledge relearned after millions of generational observations, cultural knowledge which had previously already been taught to them and now rediscovered, validates their authority on existence and all that encompasses it. So, I ask my first question so that truth may speak. If the sapiens universe has a year zero, how then does my existence predate the sapiens verse as a whole? I, the narrator, exist unincarnate and immortal in the darkness, traversing the great deep and the most high since before the sapiens verse underwent the great change and inflated into one of many shared incarnate universes. My existence is eternal within the realm of the sapien. If the sapien, as an incarnate being, took 5.6 billion years to come into being, how can they speak of their first year of existence? Even their youngest children can't recall being in the mammalian womb, let alone the transition from unincarnate spirit into an incarnate sapien body of flesh and matter. So, if it is true for the child that they cannot bear witness to their own mortal birth, how then can the sapien, being alive for only over 5.6 billion years, claim to clearly recall an event by their calendar that occurred 11 billion years before the conception of the womb they call Earth? The mortal state of incarnate sapien is equated to a higher unincarnate state for me. The unincarnate lower hell state of the incarnate sapien is, for me, the mortal state of incarnate jinn. For I am jinn, and the jinn's existence predates the beginning of the hominid's entire verse. The jinn are so ancient that our verse has long since died, descending into the great deep, forming the eternal foundation atop which the hellverse resides. The lowest afterlife of the jinn, formed from the smokeless fires of hell, is comprised mostly of the immoral forms of the jinn. The unincarnate heavenly spiritual paradise, home to the purest sapien spirits and elusive to most jinn, rests above the cosmos of the sapien. Viewed from the vantage of the fourth dimension, the sapiens live on a cylindrical disk embedded within the indefinite geometry of a hypersphere. The flatness of the Earth shares a finite region of dimensional temporal space with sapien heaven and hell. Passing through this indefinite hypersphere trinity of heaven, Earth, and hell leads to one of three super dimensions: the Great Deep, Purgatory, and the Most High. Due to the nature of the sapien, the incarnate Earth realm was closest in spiritual vibration to Purgatory, just above the Great Deep. The Great Deep is where all of the ancient ones live, entities said to be both the first and the oldest within our existence. The Great Deep is a vastness of wet, cold, and darkness, allegoric to an ocean located beneath the Most High. Purgatory resides as the threshold between the Great Deep and the Most High. Purgatory is defined by the entities which reside there and is a vastness of moisture, warmth, and twilight, allegoric to mist residing above the vast ocean of the Great Deep and beneath the atmosphere of the Most High. The Most High is where all of the transcended ones live, entities said to be allegoric to the purest and noblest of us within our existence. The Most High is a vastness of dry, hot, and brightness, allegoric to an atmosphere located above the Great Deep. This trinity of the Great Deep, Purgatory, and Most High encompasses the shared, carnate existence of humanity and the jinn, three parts of one existence. It takes many verses to form what could be called a universe and many universes to form what could be called an existence. Existence is one or more universes. A universe is one or more verses. The Great Deep is an encompassing existence. Purgatory is an encompassing existence. The Most High is an encompassing existence. Each of these universes together forms the fourth dimensional hypersphere of carnate existence, which encompasses them. On their own, each universe is itself allegoric to an n-dimensional sphere embedded within the carnate existence, hypersphere. On their own, each universe is also allegoric to an existence in its own right, but as the properties of these universes are shared among each other, through this relationship, they form parts of a whole. In much the same way, we divide a universe into its many internal, verse states. Un means one or whole. But verse best analogizes the true nature of un when defining and classifying the quantity of a sum. The ego of man serves to corrupt reasoning in order to control understanding. Consider your doubt as you read, how quickly you can confess that I, the speaker, am wrong. That I, Iblis, the greatest of the jinn, for I also hold the title of Transcended One, am wrong. You doubt my words based on your personal mortal experiences, despite forgetting the countless times that I have taken your life at the moment of your death and aided in your rebirth. For an endless amount of time, I have watched and served humanity with my own eyes. Humanity, in its arrogance, is quick to use personal experience to reject truth outside of self, yet refuses to accept the personal experience of someone else without being given proof in the form of personal experience. It is the nature of humanity that the wisdom of the incarnate spirit remains locked away in the subconscious mind of the conscious form. That is to say, the experience you request of me is inside your spirit mind, but your flesh distracts you from obtaining your genetic or spiritual memory of such things. Instead, you allow your ego to drive your mind and convince you that my description of the mechanisms of existence is not true. You label me as the devil and as adversary of humanity because I show you the truth of material reality and serve as the ambassador of death, which is natural to humanity. From this, Sapien writes, in the beginning, in spite of within the verse. The term verse, used in religious text, is inherent from the spirit of man to give man proof of experience. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Sapien rewrites, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So, I ask the questions, when did God create the void? When did God create the darkness? When did God create the deep? When did God create the water? But the most important question, the most important thing that the human ego ignores when reading this day zero account of Homo sapien manifestation into its existence, is this, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. How does one move if there is no dimensionality within which to do so? How does one move if there is no temporal space within which to do so? The beginning is temporal. Within the temporal, God created the heavens within the earth. This I have witnessed. This is the event which marks my fall from the glory of God and set me on the path to wreck the whole of dimensionality. We jinn are proud. We are proud because we are accomplished, we are old and wise, and we have a history of greatness that is older than humanity's entire verse. We jinn are proud, for we have stood at the feet of God and experienced firsthand its glory. But God favors humanity over us jinn. I must assume that God does this simply because the jinn are old and humanity is young. What other reason could there be? The legacy and progress of humanity are due to the influence of us jinn. Nothing humanity has done can be claimed as their own. Even the wisest of the human scholars say that the thoughts of man are not original in any real sense, but instead are inherited by the experience of the social dynamic of the human condition. We jinn are the originators of knowledge. We jinn have always influenced humanity's experience and growth since before man had a soul and was nothing more than a clay form. God created the earth in jinn heaven. The earth is, by right, one of many celestial homes of the jinn since before God ever mentioned any intent to create Homo sapiens. The verse within which the earth resides was God's gift to the jinn, the final resting place for all jinn. The jinn inhabited every celestial world within the corner of the indefinite cosmos of the Earthverse and walked upon the face of the primordial Earth and its moon, showing favor to it alone long before the first stellar body was ignited by God's glory. Then, out of the darkness, the corruption came seeding, and with it, my doubt slowly followed.
That's what I want to do. I simply just want to write stories and produce comic books. There's a billion-dollar industry out there. So there's enough money for me to be able to do that if the world would simply share. But since we don't want to share, since we don't want to engage in the actual act of being civilized, we create conditions where some people are allowed to do the things that they want and some people are not. And that's just the fundamental, simple aspect of the reality of the world that we live in. And it doesn't have to be that way. And the problem that I see is twofold. We still believe that there is finite resources in an infinite reality. There are literally infinite resources. If the universe is infinite, then there are infinite resources. The second problem is we believe that some people should have and some people should not have. We believe that some people are not going to be able to do it and some people will do it. And we allow people that are not qualified to hold positions even though they're not qualified. And we force people that are qualified to work under their potential so that other people can feel good about themselves. And that is the fundamental foundational problem with the reality of the world that we live in every fucking day. And it starts with the academics. There is zero reason why I should have been treated the way that I was treated at that school. It's my fault because I should have never went. Every problem that I have in my life is the direct result of the decisions that I've made. But the one most important quality of this world that nobody wants to address is that you don't have all the fucking answers and you don't know every fucking thing. So you shouldn't be punished for making simple mistakes. If your intentions are right and your goals are right and they align with societal norms and legality and morality and ethics, you shouldn't fucking suffer. You shouldn't. There's no reason why I should be an honest person, an honest man living in my car, sleeping in the cold, trying to go to school, trying to do the right thing, or being a law-abiding citizen, not speeding, not doing any of that stuff, and having to deal with this level of adversity when we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are a lot of fucking criminals in this world being prosperous. A lot of fucking criminals. The vast majority of the most wealthiest people on this planet are only wealthy because of the illegal things and the immoral and unethical things that they have done to get there. And we should not be okay en masse with that understanding. And that is the foundation of my 2 cent. You hear me all the time whining and bitching and moaning and complaining about white and black and racism and all other bullshit. The sad reality is that it's not hard. It's not difficult to design something that functions properly. Imagine if cars discriminated. Imagine if cars were built so that if you were an African American and you got in one, it didn't work properly because your skin complexion. That's not what happens. Cars don't fucking care. If you give a lemon to a Caucasian, it's not going to run better. It doesn't care. Machines don't care. Technology doesn't care. The universe doesn't care. It's not as biased or prejudiced as we are taught to believe that it is. It doesn't favor us. There's no favoring anything in nature. Nature just is. Humans invented all that shit. We're the architects of that. We invented it so that we could understand how it would feel, and then we engage in the very thing that we know we shouldn't do. And I don't understand why. So I'm gonna just keep sitting here doing my homework and get my money from the government, and I'm gonna get me an apartment, probably get an apartment, and then eventually buy a house. But my salvation is gonna be in the form of ChatGPT. I'm not gonna keep whining and complaining. I'm not gonna keep arguing and fighting. I'm not gonna try to get people to understand. I'm just gonna write stories and sell them. It's just that simple. There's a large enough market out there in the world that I will just freelance. I'm in this car because I wanted to be a husband and a father. Literally. Like all the adversities that I deal with in this world come from my desire to be a decent human being, a good man, a husband and a father. It's all I've ever really wanted in the world. All the other shit is just basically just part of life. Like I need to work, so I have to get a job. I need to provide for myself, so I might as well write stories and design video games to do that. But the reality is that all I've ever really wanted was just to be a decent member of society, have some children that I can take care of and raise until I die, and be a functional human being. Be in a relationship with a woman that I can love. What else is there? What else is there? Nothing else. So all of this shit that I keep describing was designed so that people with my complexion and my hair texture and my skin color wouldn't breed with other humans that are lighter than me for no reason other than just to create unnecessary competition. Because if you like this girl and she has if you like this girl and she likes somebody that doesn't have your skin complexion and your hair texture, there's nothing you can fucking do. Except for go to the other girls that don't give a fuck. Like, there's billions of them on the fucking planet. But your ego won't allow you to recognize that you don't get the right to every fucking thing. You don't own every fucking thing. But, since there actually isn't a fucking God to stop them, and every other ethnicity is too busy believing that there isn't an actual issue, Europeans are going to just fuck the world up. They're going to just take the fucking world over. And it's not because it's all of them. It's just because there's enough of them that aren't being checked by them to do it. It only takes like one person to blow the fucking planet up. If all the rest of us just sit back and let them fucking do it, then we suffer for it. Right? We suffer for it. There's only one dude somewhere with his finger on a button to press a fucking nuke. But we allowed thousands of them damn things to be built and distributed all over the world. We gave them money with our taxes so they could put nuclear weapons all over the goddamn planet. And then when they finally do blow the fucking planet up, all we're going to do is sit back and complain. Well, all you had to do was just make it clear that shit wasn't acceptable. But that's not what we do. We just sit back and we're just complacent. We're just complacent with the way things are. We're just fine. It's just okay. Doing my fucking homework, losing points for professionalism at the same fucking time. Make that shit make sense. When I was literally sitting in the fucking classroom with them studying. But then when I say institutional racism, you say, no, that's not really true. How did I go from sitting in the fucking class with a 99.9 GPA to a 36 and a 40 and being told that I'm not professional? That I'm not professional. The veteran that went into the military for 6 fucking years at the age of 34 and humbled himself to children, 20-year-olds and 18-year-olds, literal children. I'm the one that's not professional. The guy that gets up in his goddamn car and drives to fucking work and doesn't drink alcohol and isn't smoking crack and isn't smoking cigarettes and isn't smoking weed. I'm the one that's not fucking professional. I'm the one that has to lose professionalism points when you're getting a check from the government to not even give me a fucking education. I have to convince you that I'm smart enough to do the thing that I want to do so that you can give me a sheet of paper that will let people know that I'm smart enough to do the thing that I want to do, instead of just handing them a fucking book and letting them read it. Because I have to convert all of the things that I want to write and say into your format. But I don't live in your fucking world. So why do I have to use your format if I don't live in your world? Why? What is the, like I keep saying, what is the end game goal? What is the point? What is the direction that we're going to? Elon Musk's like, we need to build rockets and go to Mars. To take this same bullshit there so that you can charge people for oxygen? Like, is that literally his goal? I want to build a colony on Mars so I can actually be able to charge people for breathing air. Like, is that the corporate drive to sell air? Like, is that the reason why we're going to Mars? Because it kind of feels like it, right? Like, it's not like we're doing this with all of the shit that's happening on Earth. We need to go to Mars, but with all the shit that's happening on Earth, you would think that we would be addressing those issues. You'd think that we'd be looking at the worst areas of the planet and figuring out how we could donate the resources to unify the world. You would think that we would be having governments put in place so that we can actually mitigate the global adversities that humanity projects onto the planet with our presence. You would think that we would be engineering our ecosystems and our environments and our societies so that we would have a lesser impact on the world and make ourselves more sustainable with the ecosystem. No, let's burn this shit down and then complain about the ashes. Let's do it that way. Let's identify the problems, come up with all the solutions. Don't do any of that stuff. Create unnecessary chaos and then complain about all of the things that we already understood was going to happen in the beginning. Outline every conflict and give every solution. Ignore all of the solutions, engage in all of the conflicts, and then complain. And then continue that for the rest of our lives, every day. And then teach that to our children so they can go out and continue to perpetuate the same ideology and engage in the same behavior. Let's do that instead. And here's a bunch of people that are going to just entertain you and distract you so that we can get you to go to work, and then you can come home and you can drink your alcohol, smoke your cigarettes, have sex, and then you produce a bunch of children that you're not really going to be able to afford to take care of, so you can be more motivated to go out in the world and continue the same cycle every day over and over and over again for no reason, with no goal in line in sight, no fundamental reason for any of this. Zero reason for us to exist. Zero. No, nothing. Because if it's not making somebody else money so that they can spend a lot of money to ignore the fact that they're not comfortable and happy with their lives, then there is no reason for it. The whole point of civilization was to reduce the adversities of living in an ecosystem. And all we've done is created unnecessary bullshit. Unfucking necessary. There's no reason for it. Zero fucking reason for it. For what? Why do you create all of the conditions to prove that somebody's a criminal, to put them in a box and waste resources to hold their ass in a fucking box? Why? Why? What sense does it make? The same shit that you're locking people up for is the same shit that's legal now. Do you know how many African Americans are in prison for marijuana use or marijuana distribution or selling marijuana that are still in prison? Do you know what it must feel like to wake up in fucking jail for possession of marijuana and have to listen to them talk about how it's recreational and how they're building dispensaries? Who's building dispensaries? Who? Who's building them? Who's building dispensaries in the African American community? How many generations of sons grew up without fathers because their fathers was trying to sell marijuana to provide for them and went to prison and are still in prison? And now you have young Caucasians running around in this planet selling marijuana everywhere and using it recreationally and having a free quality of life. And then when I say institutional racism, the first thing you want to say to me is you're exaggerating or you're reaching or you need to be accountable for yourself. You run the fucking numbers. You think critically about that shit. That everything that they made illegal that punished non-whites is now legal now and it's benefiting youthful whites. Think about that shit. Really think critically about it. Because everything that I write, the foundation of all this shit is in this stuff. But you have to really look at the world for what it really actually is. And quit acting like these problems are isolated, that you're immune to it. Because that's the trick. The trick is to convince you that what we're doing to the African Americans and all the other non-whites don't affect you negatively. But the reason why they're breaking into your cars is because they don't have any resources. The reason why they're stealing from your stores is because they don't have any resources. I don't need to steal from you. I just need the right to be able to function at the same level that you function at if you want to hold me to the same standard that you hold yourself to. If you want me to pay you the same amount of money in rent that you're paying in rent, I need to make the same amount of money that you're making as an income. It's not difficult. It's not. But they don't want to have to compete. They don't want to compete. They don't want to argue and have to fight and come to work one day and realize, oh, we didn't make enough money this quota. Now we're going to fold up and we're going to go out of business. They don't want to do that. So they create the conditions to make sure that they don't fail. And if you create the conditions to make sure you don't fail, guess what you don't have to do? You don't have to make an effort anymore. Can't fail, so why make an effort?